Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is the goddess of DC, Rayceen Pendarvis.
Greetings and salutations, all.
Today, we are joined by Matt Frumin. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Krylios.
It's great to have you here today with us, Matthew. How are you doing?
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you here. We've spoken once before, and now we're speaking again after the primary. So it's great to have you here. So before we kick anything off, let's have you start out by just introducing yourself to our audience. For anyone who's don't know who you are, never seen an interview with you before, and let them know a little bit about your background and experience.
Well, thank you so much. Well, the big thing is I am the Ward 3 Democratic nominee for the council. We had the primary back in June and lots of great candidates, and I was able to emerge as the nominee, and I'm so pleased and so excited to be in this position and excited to dig in for the November election. I've lived in AU Park for close on 30 years, been very, very active in my community with my wife, raised 3 children who are products of the DC public schools. I have been active as an ANC commissioner, chaired the Tenleytown Main Streets, chair the board at the Lisner Home, which is a assisted living nursing facility for low-income DC seniors, worked on parks issues in the area, worked on traffic calming issues. I've been deeply, deeply involved in my community for a decade and a half. Love the work that I've been able to do in my community and in the city as a whole. I created a citywide education advocacy organization, also very active with the Washington Interfaith Network on issues around the city. And the idea that I may have an opportunity to have an even bigger impact on the city council is very exciting to me. In other lives, I'm one of the very few lawyers in Washington, D.C. And I have been active in promoting democracy around the world in a different capacities. So I've touched a lot of different things, had a lot of exciting opportunities in my career, and boy, this one is really exciting for me.
Awesome.
Great. Sounds like you have also your hands full and when you talk about civic and community duties. You've had your hand in a lot of different fires, which makes it so much better when you approach the position that you're running for, because it means that you have done the work, laid the ground, laid the foundation, and you understand the importance of community activism, the community cries, and you are right there on the ground running. So that's an amazing feat.
I so appreciate you saying that. I mean, I really do think it's true. I have had people who over the years have said, do you have a job? Like you're so active in the community. How do you have a job? But also, and I want to just tout a little that my wife has also equally been active in the community. And so I touched the world through that. She had worked for a place called the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, which provided learning opportunities for seniors, worked at what was then called Wilson High School. Now, happily, the name has been changed to Jackson Reed, and Janney Elementary School in Iona. So we as a family have been embedded in this community and active in so many different ways. And I hope that I can bring that to the council. And as you said, hit the ground running.
Certain. And I'm assuming that is your wife's art behind you, correct?
That I think the one behind me is not, but if I push the camera in any other direction, it would be my wife's art. She's a terrific artist whose art is like everywhere.
Certainly.
We were at a party one night, And there was a painting over sitting against the wall. And I said, Lena, is that your painting? And she said, no, but it looked so much like her painting. And then I went over there and looked at it and I said, if it's not your painting, why does it have your name on the
bottom? So Matt, tell me now, as we face the general election, you're the presumptive, you are the presumptive winner as the candidate that won the primary. So you will be representing Ward 3 more than likely on the council. Tell me, what's your favorite thing about Ward 3? Or give me some of your favorite things about Ward 3.
Oh, well, that's so interesting. Yeah, I think people talk about me as the presumptive council person, but I'm not presuming anything.
You're not presuming anything.
We have tried to give people a break this summer because there was a lot of campaigning going on and people deserve a break. But, come the fall, we're going to have a vigorous campaign and going to earn it. Some of my favorite things about Ward 3, the schools are really wonderful. And the schools, as my children were coming up, I actually had breakfast this morning with Janice Lewis George, and we were talking about this because Janice went to Deal. And one of the things we were talking about was diversity at the schools. And there was a day where I went to, again, what was called Wilson High School at the time, now Jackson Reed. And I stood by where the pool is, by where the entrance to the pool, and I was looking out at the track. It was a beautiful fall day. I was going to a meeting about the modernization of the school. And there were these long distance runners going around the track, and the girls lacrosse team and the boys baseball team, and it was every kind of child from all over the world, all different kinds of backgrounds. And it just was breathtakingly beautiful. It just I just thought, what a special place. And the people in Ward 3 are grappling with
you're fine. You're fine.
So there's some of my wife's artwork.
Yes.
So and the people in Ward 3 are grappling with a history that isn't pretty, really. We have a history of exclusion. The area is the turn of the 20th century was a mixed race community, and by the middle of the 20th century was not, because the African Americans were driven out and then excluded. And we're grappling with that history, and the way in which people in Ward 3 are trying to grapple with that history and bend it, I think, is also another beautiful thing. Everything in Washington, D.C., we're surrounded by history, and that's true in Ward 3. Fort Reno is a magical place because of the history, the Civil War history, the history of Reno City, the history of the concerts there. And that's true. Every corner of the city has that, but we also have that. What are some of my other favorite things in Ward 3? I think I mentioned the parks, but that's been a big thing for me, to create gathering places where people come together and can learn together, play together. And in Ward 3, we have a whole bunch of wonderful parks where that happens. So they go on my list of favorite places too.
Certainly, those are some good places.
Well, as if you are, and win and receive and become a council member, what would be your 3 topics that are that you would run on, and what would they be?
So education is really important to me. I got into local politics partly by serving on my ANC and doing the nuts and bolts work of solving problems in the neighborhood and working on the modernization of then Wilson High School, and through that becoming active on education issues citywide. Here in Ward 3, we have some particular issues around education. We have overcrowding in our schools, and there's the perennial issues around school budgets. And both of those things, solving those things are very, very important to me, and they'll be a big focus. And I've done a ton of work organizing people around the city and in the ward on it. But also the success of the neighborhood school system in every part of the city has been a real priority for me. I helped create an organization, the Coalition for DC Public Schools and Communities. And here in Ward 3, people feel like they can send their child to the local elementary school, and then the local middle school, and then like local high school, and their child will get an education that they can feel comfortable with. People in all parts of the city do not feel that way. And we need to make sure that people feel that way. We owe them that as a city. It's critical to the building of community. It's only fair to our citizens, and it's how you keep families in the city. So that's one significant priority. Another priority that is on everybody's mind, and it breaks our hearts each week we see news stories, is public safety. Mm-hmm. How are we going to make sure that people feel more safe and are more safe? And some of that relates to things that we need to do in the area of policing, but it also is seriously attacking the root causes of crime. People talk about it, but the people who are committing these crimes are people who are bereft of hope and don't feel that they're cared about. And we need to, it's not the only answer, we need to hold people accountable when they do bad things. But if we're going to solve that issue over the long term, we need to really attack the root causes of crime. And I want to be a part of that. I think I was talking before about bending the history in Ward 3. Affordability, housing affordability is a big issue. I chair the board at the Lisner Home. We're building the first housing production trust fund project in Ward 3 ever, with 93 units of deeply affordable housing for DC seniors. We're a senior campus. We do assisted living nursing care, and we're going to create affordable independent living on our campus. We need to be creative in lots of places to provide more housing opportunities to people. You asked for 3, but I cheat a little.
That's fine.
Well, you wouldn't be a politician if you didn't talk.
And Mary Che has been a real leader on environmental issues, and I think that people in the environmental community worry. There's other people on the council who are also very active, but they feel like there could be a loss to the environmental movement with Mary leaving, and there is a loss. She has been a real national leader. I too am going to want to be a real leader on environmental issues and combating climate change. I answer to a lot of people. I'm going to answer to my constituents once I'm elected, and I know it and have experienced that as an ANC commissioner. I also answer to my children and my new grandchild, and so those will be compass points for me.
Awesome. Well, let's give people some information about the upcoming general election and how they can get prepared. So talk to me about the key dates for the election coming up and when voting begins.
Oh, look at that. And you gave me a crib sheet, so that's super helpful. October 3rd is really a big day. That's when the ballots get mailed, and I think we saw in this last election that how important that is. That the election, I talk about November 8th, which is at the bottom of your list, and November 8th is election day, but election day is eroding in importance as more and more people vote earlier and earlier. And so the election starts on October 3rd when ballots get mailed out. The drop boxes are open. You can send it in the mail, but if you want to leave it in a drop box, then that happens on October 14th. And I guess I can walk through this, that the deadline for voter registration applications October 18th, deadline for absentee ballots October 24th. Early voting, which early voting was significant in the primary, but it wasn't as big. It was really the mailed-in ballots that were the big thing. And we actually saw people coming with their mailed-in ballots to the early voting centers and dropping them in the mailbox, or into the drop box. And then the general election on November 8th. But it really, I think, watch for a campaign in September and October, and voting happening throughout October and into November.
Certainly. And we want to make sure that everyone is vote ready. So if you want to check your voter registration status, pledge to vote, and register to vote, please go to headcount.org. Pledge to vote, check your status, and register to vote. Now, Matthew, if people wanted to find out more about you, find out more about your campaign, find out more about what you're planning to do if elected in November, how can they go about doing that?
By far the best thing to do is to go to my website, which is Frumin for Ward 3. You see that at the bottom below the Twitter and Facebook. Also, Twitter and Facebook at Matthew Frumin and at Frumin for Ward 3 are great places to go. That is my lovely wife there, and we were talking about her artwork. You could see some of it on the door to our house. It's a little bit different than you see it at other houses, but her signature is everywhere. Awesome. But the best place to go is fruminforward3.com.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have that link in the description below so that our viewers can go ahead and check that out. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been such a pleasure getting to chat with you, and we wish you the best of luck in the upcoming election.
I really appreciate it. And I fear I got off onto the absolute wrong foot by maybe mispronouncing your name, but I'll try it again. So thank you, Krylios. Did I get it right? All right. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed talking.
Oh, you're welcome.
Of course, as always. And if you're watching, please follow Team Rayceen Productions at Team Rayceen on all forms of social media, and click around our YouTube channel. Check out our other interviews, forums, vlogs, and more. And while you're at it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.